Elena looked directly at Obsidius as he stood on a stone staircase leading into Blackwood Manor's ancient library, her gaze piercing and intense under the dim light filtering through high windows. "I see," Elena finally responded with an uncharacteristically stern tone that belied any immediate response one might expect from such a reserved character. "You brought us here for this convergence you speak of." "Indeed." Obsidius nodded his head firmly, though he kept most of himself hidden behind layers of books and shadows in the library's labyrinthine layout. "I believe it's time we take another look at what lies beyond these walls." Elena took a deep breath before she stepped forward to face him directly once again with an expression that was neither defiance nor agreement, but rather determination mixed uncomfortably under her surface. "What does this convergence entail?" Elena questioned, the weight of responsibility resting heavily on each syllable spoken. "Do you think it will help us find the blue box?" Obsidius inclined his head slightly towards a thick leather-bound tome in hand. Its edges were worn down almost to nothingness and held deep within him an untold knowledge accumulated over time. "The convergence promises answers," Obsidius replied with the same calm authority he had been displaying. "I have found patterns among dimensions, strange signs appearing around this manor's perimeter. It seems as if a gateway might be forming." Elena walked forward to peer at some of these markings more closely. Her hands moved restlessly against his sides in subtle gestures that spoke volumes without uttering a single word. "There are others with you," she said softly, voice tinged almost plaintively yet maintained its underlying strength. "Why not share your findings?" Obsidius' silence was profound and resonant as he glanced up at the ceiling above them. Each of those dark crevices held secrets just waiting to be unearthed. "Kim is one such person," Obsidius responded eventually, his tone steady, even if it felt different from usual. "He brought me here because I needed him more than you might think." Elena's eyes widened momentarily, before she took a step back slightly, as though repulsed by the mere mention of Kim Murier, yet her resolve didn't waver significantly despite this new revelation. "That man is far from innocent," Elena murmured almost harshly, shaking off any semblance of hope. "And now you want him here because he's needed? Look beyond his actions for the reasons that brought us to where we are today." Obsidius offered her a single nod before continuing in earnestness without looking at either party again. The convergence could be seen as an opportunity, or simply more evidence of what was already unfolding, something darker and far from ordinary. For now, they had each other's backs regardless of how murky the situation became. It wasn't just about finding the blue box anymore, but unraveling a mystery so complex that one couldn't know where its end might lie. As Elena took another step closer to Obsidius against her better judgment, she felt an underlying sense of dread stirring within herself. She knew Kim was part of this equation, as much or more than any other individual in their orbit, yet still feared him like a shadow lurking beneath the light cast by blackness itself. Her unease wasn't unwarranted, considering everything Obsidius had shared so far, and how she perceived that connection with Leela. She couldn't help but wonder what secrets lurked within them all, or if any of those connections were merely echoes left over from a past where their lives could have ended tragically different. She decided to take the initiative in further investigation, turning her attention back towards deciphering these markings which seemed integral for understanding this phenomenon at hand. With no immediate answers provided by Obsidius and none likely forthcoming without him fully opening up about Kim Murier, Elena found herself taking matters into her own hands. She had grown accustomed to questioning everything around them. She would not rest until they unraveled every last piece of information in hopes that perhaps, just possibly, the blue box could still be recovered. After all, the lives at stake went beyond mere curiosity or investigation. As evening began creeping through Blackwood Manor's vast spaces like a whispering breeze moving silently from room to chamber, its cold touch caressing their skins and carrying away any lingering heat left behind by daylight's warmth, Elena continued her journey profound deep within those ancient texts. Each new passage read felt less certain than the last, each sign more cryptic yet vital for understanding this looming convergence. And as she did so, Leela's spectral form appeared ghostly beside her once again, its ethereal touch providing both comfort and assurance during what was an unnerving journey through forgotten dimensions intertwined by their existence. As Elena described Blackwood Manor's vast library, with a combination of reverence and wariness that felt both alienated yet intimately familiar, Obsidius' grip on his laptop tightened as he traced out shadows across an ageless parchment map before him. The flicker from the screen was stark against its summer backdrop, another link in their growing connection. Elena's eyes had taken note. She watched with a blend of curiosity and apprehension, while murmuring under her breath about some unknown pattern they were following together despite being strangers to one another. Or perhaps just seeing beyond what others could perceive. It was Kim Murier who broke the quietude next, by his entry from an adjacent room. An eerie hush followed as he settled into a seat near them. His presence wasn't necessarily menacing. It seemed like some profound and deep thought rather than outright hostility towards their shared purpose. Kim observed for what felt like only moments before leaning forward and speaking softly yet with authority. "I understand your urgency to uncover the origins of the blue box." He was unassuming, but firm enough that one didn't need much reassurance about his intent. His voice dropped deeper when he mentioned Kim Murier's alias. "You're right. Obsidius Nyxofcuckoo is just another name for me too." His words held a trace of something close to embarrassment, or perhaps an attempt at humor in this morbid situation. "Then let's not be distracted by him," he continued. "The convergence we're expecting, well, it's here now." He turned towards them with the faintest hint of anxiety etched onto his face, as if sensing their impending concern over these hidden realities converging without prior warning or context they could control. "Is there anything I can do to aid your search?" Elena asked hesitantly. She looked directly at Obsidius, at her eyes hopeful but guarded. Obsidius nodded slightly and reached for the Bitacora she had been using previously. "We need you to navigate through those alternate realities we map." Elena accepted his proposition without hesitation, part of a tacit agreement that their combined efforts might be needed now more than ever. She looked up at him, understanding but still uncertain about what they were exactly entangled within, as the group began discussing possible strategies and paths forward to uncover the blue box's true nature, while preparing for whatever convergence awaited them in this darkened sanctuary of echoes. A feeling that neither knew where their journey would lead yet remained resolute. Each step into the unknown became both more urgent and thrillingly unpredictable.